Video games have undeniably the greatest soundtracks out of any form of media. These legendary collections of music can be detrimental to the game's enjoyment and immersiveness. While franchises like Sonic, Donkey Kong, or Persona are among some of the best soundtracks of all time, the title for the greatest grouping of video game themes ever would easily belong to The Legend of Zelda. Throughout the nearly 40 years of the franchise's existence, the Nintendo sound team has produced some truly iconic themes. In this video, I will be going through said soundtracks, and picking the best song and sometimes songs in each. Oh, hold on, didn't I do this already? No, your ears do not deceive you. Nearly a year ago, I made a video where I covered and ranked my favorite song in every Zelda game. Over the past 11 months, my opinions have changed completely, making nearly that entire video outdated and in need of a remake. And this was also somehow the second most popular video topic in my video poll a while back, so here you go. In this video, I will not be ranking the songs from worst to best, instead just picking my favorite in each game. And of course, I will not be including any of the themes I picked in the original video, as that would be really boring. One thing I would like to clarify before we get into the video is that I am not a music expert at all. I'm just a guy who likes listening to music because it sounds cool and sometimes gets me emotional, so I apologize if I get some of the terminology or minor details wrong. If you enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more Zelda content just like this. And with all that explanation out of the way, let's cover the best song in every Zelda game. Being the first ever Zelda game, it should come as no surprise that The Legend of Zelda for the NES has a very limited soundtrack to pick from, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Originally, I had picked the title theme, which is actually one of the few opinions from the first video that I still agree with, but for the sake of the video, I picked my second favorite theme in the game, that being the dungeon theme. One problem I usually have with older video game soundtracks is how they can often be quite repetitive, and that is exactly how I feel about this song, but this time it's repetitive in a good way. Those same few chords being repeated over and over again work really well with this funky bass line. Normally, this would get really irritating, but the dungeon theme manages to turn this repetition into a very mysterious and appealing song. Despite having a very limited soundtrack, Zelda 1 still manages to provide some very iconic and lovable themes. And the same can be said for its predecessor. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link is notoriously one of the worst and hardest Zelda games of all time. While people, myself included, might have many problems with this game, the soundtrack is definitely not one of them. The Palace theme is undeniably the most iconic theme in this game, and it was my first pick for the best song in Zelda 2. This time around, instead of picking the normal Palace theme, I picked the Great Palace theme, since it's, well, greater. I might even go as far as to say that this is easily the better of the two dungeon themes. While that might be because it's not loved by everyone and their grandma, I still believe it to be true. The Great Palace theme is quite similar to the standard Palace theme, instead sounding a bit more epic and intense, which makes total sense as it's one of the final songs you'll hear in the entire game. This theme and the soundtrack as a whole was such an impressive feat for the time. The music in the first two Zelda games has aged so incredibly well. These compositions were way ahead of their 8-bit era, and the Great Palace theme is one of the prime examples of this legendary sound design. A Link to the Past features undeniably the most underrated theme in the entire franchise. If you listen closely to any video I've made in the past few months, you might notice the exact same theme playing every time I talk about A Link to the Past. Power of the Gods is my favorite song in A Link to the Past, and it's not even remotely close. One of the main reasons why I love this theme so much is how it plays at the best moment in the entire game. Watching as the essence of the Triforce talks to Link while this legendary song plays in the background is undeniably one of the greatest Zelda moments, period. This gorgeous theme is incredibly fitting to the Triforce and all of its good nature. The other song I had considered was the ending theme, which I like for very similar reasons, but I do slightly prefer the song that plays just before, making Power of the Gods easily my favorite song in A Link to the Past, and one of the best songs in the entire franchise. A comment I'd received a lot under my last video was how I should have picked another song for Link's Awakening, and I kinda agree. While Ballad of the Windfish is a gorgeous and bittersweet send-off for the game, there is a legit argument that Face Shrine is the superior track, specifically Face Shrine from the Switch remake, though both the old and newer versions are great. The brand new orchestral composition of the Switch remake adds a modern and fresh take on the old song, while also keeping some of the most important aspects of the original. Something about this song feels really off, which is extremely fitting, given that Link has only just learned, prior to this dungeon, that the island he has grown to love will soon vanish, leaving him solely responsible for the potential death of many. Link's Awakening is one of my favorite Zelda remakes ever, and the brand new soundtrack is a huge reason why, keeping the core ideas and vibe of each song, while taking a brand new approach at the overall sounds of each theme. For being a fitting and surprisingly saddening theme, Face Shrine from Link's Awakening is pretty easily my favorite track in the entire game. When talking about A Link to the Past, I had mentioned how I've used the same song in nearly every single one of my recent videos. Well, if you've watched any of my videos till the very end, I am certain that you've heard Ocarina of Time's end credits theme. That's because I've used it in quite literally every single video I've ever made. This song is the perfect ending theme. The soothing combination of various themes does a great job at making you reminisce on the adventure you've just experienced. My initial pick for the best song in Ocarina of Time was Zelda's Lullaby, which I still agree is my favorite song in the game, which is exactly why I picked the end credit theme, as Zelda's Lullaby is the main melody throughout the song. I have some crazy emotional attachment to this track, and those emotions have only grown stronger since I've started making YouTube videos. Ocarina of Time is arguably my favorite game ever. Hearing this song at the end of every one of my playthroughs are some of my fondest memories with this game, and I feel the exact same way when completing a video. Adding this background theme is always one of the final things I do when editing my videos, and it evokes the exact same emotions as Ocarina of Time's ending, as I love making videos so much, and completing each video feels somewhat bittersweet. It's no wonder why I use this song in every single one of my videos, and I don't think I'll ever stop using it, as Ocarina of Time's end credit theme is arguably my favorite ending theme in the history of the franchise. Despite Majora's Mask sharing many assets with its younger brother, the soundtrack is an aspect that is completely different and new to this sequel. Majora's Mask is dark, and this theme is greatly aided by this eerie soundtrack. Ironically, my initial pick for this list was the Astral Observatory, which is anything but dark, but I've since come to enjoy another theme slightly more. Or, I guess, 4 themes. Clocktown serves as the central hub throughout Link's journey. This lively town is filled with many interesting characters and activities, but there's an issue. Everyone in this town will die. As I'm sure everyone and their mother knows, Majora's Mask works on a 3-day cycle. If you don't complete various tasks and warp back to day 1, the moon will crash into Termina and kill everyone. This doomsday system is one of the most intriguing things about the story of Majora's Mask, and is reflected perfectly in Clocktown's main theme, which changes every day. Day 1 is basically just your normal upbeat town theme, featuring many happy sounding instruments to depict the city's restless nature. Unfortunately, this upbeat atmosphere is cut short with the arrival of Day 2. The second day features a much more empty remake of the original song, having significantly less instruments in the mix. Not only does the song sound emptier, but the pace is slightly sped up, almost as if the town is beginning to panic at the potential end of the world, confused if they should evacuate the city or continue on with tradition. As we arrive on Day 3, we can hear an even more panicked version of the Clocktown main theme. The most important addition in this third and final day is the dark undertone present throughout the entire song. Long, deep bass lines will play during this theme, which makes the song feel even creepier than it already does. This is when the town becomes divided. Some choose to stay as they believe the end of the world is just a lie, while others evacuate the city in fear for their own lives. Unfortunately, the inevitable will always become reality, and this haunting worry will finally be more than just a rumor. The final hours in Majora's Mask features the most horrifying theme in the entire franchise. The almost ethereal choir combined with the ghastly synth playing over top really makes these final hours feel real, as the people of Clocktown cower in fear that their time on this earth and everything they know will soon cease to exist. Yes, I picked 4 themes for this game's best, and I don't regret it in the slightest. Both the Clocktown themes and the final hours are the soundtracks I think of when I imagine Majora's Mask. The slow evolution into chaos is the perfect depiction of the overall narrative theme for this game, and is one of the biggest reasons why Majora's Mask is easily the darkest and most depressing game in the series. Despite the Oracle games not being that interesting compared to the rest of the franchise, their soundtracks are still really great. My initial pick for the best song in Oracle of Seasons was Tarm Ruins, which is still a great song, though I do easily prefer the Subrosia theme, making it my personal favorite in the game. A while back, I made a video covering the worst song in every Zelda game. In that video, I had mentioned how themes like Spirit's Grave and Key Cavern were among some of my least favorite in the Game Boy soundtracks, and honestly, Subrosia kinda gives me the same vibe as both of those songs. songs, though this time I think it was executed in the best way possible. This theme is super groovy, which is really fitting music for the weird residents of Subrosia. While the song is actually pretty repetitive and basic, I still think it's a really enjoyable song to listen to, and it really just makes ya wanna dance. Honestly, Oracle of Ages doesn't really feature a clear best song. That's not saying that the soundtrack is bad, but none of the themes stand out as the obvious best choice. My pick for the best song in Oracle of Ages would have to be the main theme for Skull Dungeon. This is one of the most unique dungeon themes in the entire franchise, and honestly, it doesn't even sound like a dungeon theme in the slightest, which is something I actually really enjoy about it. I have no clue why Nintendo decided to give this random ass dungeon such a hard song, but I won't complain. One of my biggest issues with the Game Boy OSTs is how the bass can be a bit much sometimes, and this song is no exception, but I think it works really well this time around. Honestly, not much else I can say about this song. Just a really solid theme, and a sneaky banger from a very random dungeon. Out of every game in the franchise, Four Swords has undeniably the weakest soundtrack. I still don't think it's that bad, but not nearly as strong as the others in the series. Luckily, the game select and credit theme is really great. Well, yes, this is quite literally just a remake of Zelda 1's title theme. It's featured in the Four Swords OST, so it counts. I actually think I prefer this version of the song over the original in the NES sound font. The Game Boy Advance actually produced some pretty great soundtracks in its lifespan. I'm a pretty big fan of the overall sound of the Game Boy Advance games. Not sure why, it just sounds really juicy and rich, if that makes sense. Of course, this song is practically just the Legend of Zelda main theme, which is always a great tune, no matter the game. While Four Swords doesn't have that great of a soundtrack, its updated remix on the legendary title theme easily stands out as this game's best. As you might have expected, Wind Waker was an extremely difficult game to pick the best song from. My original pick was Dragon Roost Island, which I still think is very easily a contender for the best. Other themes like Outset Island, Godon's theme, or The Great Sea were all closely considered for this game's strongest. However, the race was really between three songs, the first being Legendary Hero, the theme that plays during this game's opening. But I decided against picking that song since I'm very likely gonna do a Zelda opening ranking soon, so I figured I'd save my opinions for that video instead. The second and closest option being Farewell Hyrule King. This is one of the most emotional moments in the entire series, and the piano remix of the classic Hyrule Castle theme was a perfect fit for this legendary moment. And speaking of the Hyrule Castle theme, Wind Waker features my favorite version of this classic tune. Technically, I'm gonna choose two songs here as the best, but I think that both the versions of the theme before and after Link pulls the Master Sword to be a part of the same long song, even if it really isn't. After plunging deep within the Great Sea, Link and the King of Red Lions come face to face with a mighty castle. Upon entering, the player is greeted with a spine-chilling theme, along with an ancient palace frozen in time. As a result of pulling the Master Sword, color and life is brought back to the building, revealing the truth that this is the ancient kingdom of Hyrule, washed into myth by the passing of time. This extremely important reveal is done incredibly well, and the music is one of the largest reasons why. When the castle is sealed, a very strange sounding theme plays in the background, with heavy tremors breaking up the haunting reversed instrumental. As time resumes to normal, so does the theme. Hyrule Castle is an iconic Zelda song, and this version in Wind Waker is arguably my favorite of them all. Wind Waker's amazing soundtrack makes for the perfect complement to its masterful story, and the ancient Hyrule Kingdom reveal is no exception. Just a minute ago, I had mentioned how my favorite song from Four Swords was the game select and credit theme, which is a more modernized remake of the first Zelda title theme. Funny enough, my favorite song in Four Swords Adventures is also a remake of an older Zelda song. This time around, it's a remake of the iconic Light World dungeon theme from A Link to the Past. This, to me, is another one of the most underrated Zelda songs ever. Well, yes, this theme is super popular. I don't think people give it nearly enough credit. This version of the song is even better than the iconic original. The entire theme just sounds so much fuller thanks to the newer hardware. The trumpet in this theme is really great, and I appreciate how mysterious this song sounds. Very fitting for a theme that plays during your exploration of an ancient temple. I also really like the Lake Hylia and Village of the Blue Maiden themes from this game, but the temple theme is just a bit better, making it my favorite in Four Swords Adventures. When thinking of the best song in Twilight Princess, many immediately point to tracks like Midna's Lament, Hyrule Field, or Faron Woods. I, however, prefer to look elsewhere. While all the tracks I just mentioned are absolutely phenomenal musical compositions, none even compare to my favorite theme, Courage. This is the theme that plays when Link rescues Colin from King Boblin. During this theme, he explains to his friend that he needed to be strong just like Link. Not physically, but being courageous and brave. This is the song that I think of every time I imagine the hero of Twilight, capturing the idea of a more older brother-like hero perfectly. This song also has hints of the Legend of Zelda main theme scattered throughout, which fits incredibly well, as courage is arguably the most important theme in the entire franchise. Overall, Twilight Princess has a killer soundtrack, some of my other favorites being Farron Woods, Midna's theme, literally any of the dungeon themes, Blazetta, Ilia's theme, and many more. But Courage has always been my favorite of the mix, for its emotional yet provocative nature, arousing many different emotions like happiness or love. But most importantly, it provokes courage, making it one of the best and most fitting songs for the franchise as a whole. Minish Cap is pretty notorious for having a slightly underrated soundtrack. While I don't really think this OST is underrated anymore since so many people praise it, it's still a phenomenal grouping of songs. I had mentioned earlier how much I love the legendary hero theme from Wind Waker, but I didn't want to choose it since I'll likely be making a video on openings soon. I also happen to share the exact same feelings for Minish Cap's opening theme, but again, I decided not to pick it for the same reasons. My other two options for the best song in Minish Cap were between both the Minish Woods and Minish Village. Ultimately, I chose the Minish Village theme, though both are completely valid picks. The Minish Village theme is one of the liveliest town themes in the franchise. The Picori are an ancient race, often seen as myth. This track does a great job at complementing the Picori's mythological history with this magical theme. I had already mentioned earlier how I weirdly enjoy the Game Boy Advance's sound quality, and this tune is a prime example of why. The bass lines in the background sound so powerful and juicy. I don't think anyone will argue with my pick for this game, and for good reason. The Minish Village is one of the better town themes in the series, and my personal favorite song in the game. A while back, I talked about my personal favorite songs in Wind Waker. During that segment, I had mentioned how one of my favorite themes in the game was the Great Sea. Unfortunately, it just wasn't good enough to be the best in the game. Luckily, there was another seafaring Zelda game in the mix. Phantom Hourglass actually brings back the Great Sea theme from Wind Waker. While both songs aren't actually the same, they're very, very similar, since both themes play at the same moments within the games, that being when the gang are sailing across the world of the Ocean King. This theme is extremely fitting to the grand oceans of Phantom Hourglass. While the sailing in this game might not be that great at all, this background theme definitely makes it much more enjoyable. I had originally picked Linebeck's theme for the best in this game, and I actually believe that it's still the best song in Phantom Hourglass, and by a pretty wide margin. Though the Great Sea is easily this game's number 2, and my pick for this video. Originally, the pick for the best song in Spirit Tracks would have been a no-brainer, obviously being Realm Overworld, which was always my favorite theme in this game. However, I've since found a theme that I enjoy even more. This is yet another tune that I try to include in every video I possibly can. If you've watched any of my most recent videos, I am sure that you've heard Spirit Tracks' theme In the Fields many times. This song has such a fantasy vibe, which obviously fits the series so well. The different flutes playing off each other and that guitar strumming in the background makes for such a fun and upbeat song. This track plays a lot in Spirit Tracks, which would normally bother me, if it wasn't the sickest piece of music ever. Overall, Spirit Tracks is a super solid OST. In my opinion, it's even significantly better than Phantom Hourglass. While Realm Overworld is still a phenomenal composition, In the Fields has very quickly shot up in the ranks, becoming one of my favorite tracks in the entire franchise. No pun intended. Out of every game in the Legend of Zelda franchise, Skyward Sword has undeniably the best soundtrack of them all. I've mentioned several times on my channel that the Ballad of the Goddess is the best Zelda song ever. Obviously, I picked it in the original video, so I can't pick it for this one. Thankfully, my choice for this video was even easier than the first. Out of every selection I've made during this video, my favorite song in Skyward Sword is easily the best of them all. One of the highlights of this game is Link and Zelda's relationship. Everything about them feels so real and passionate, which I absolutely love. My favorite song in Skyward Sword is the main theme for Link and Zelda's relationship, Romance in the Air. I genuinely believe this is the most beautiful song Nintendo has ever created. I could literally see this track being played at someone's wedding. All the instruments used in the brand new orchestral composition of Skyward Sword combine for such an emotional song, but in a good way. Now, I'm not into shipping characters together, but Link and Zelda literally have a romance theme. Come on, this cannot get any more obvious. There are a few variations of this song used throughout the game, and all of them are equally great. Skyward Sword has the best OST in the franchise, and one of the best in gaming, period, which is all thanks to songs like Ballad of the Goddess, Zelda's Lullaby, and my personal favorite, Romance in the Air. A Link Between Worlds features arguably the most underrated soundtrack in the series. Originally, I had picked the Lorule Overworld theme as this game's best. I had also mentioned that there was a song that was practically neck and neck with my first pick. Lorule Castle is pretty notoriously this game's most popular and greatest theme, and for good reason. Lorule Castle is the final dungeon in A Link Between Worlds, making your way to the top of the castle while taking on many tough enemies and previous bosses. One of the most interesting details of this track is how it will progress over time. If you continue exploring higher floors of the castle, the theme will change, adding more instruments to give it a more epic feel. This is such a great way of concluding the game. Every step of progress really makes you feel like you're nearing the climax of the game. Near the end of the castle, this theme reaches its peak, adding hints of Hyrule Castle's main track, and even tiny bits of Ganon's theme in the mix. I am a huge fan of songs that progress over a certain period of time. It really helps with the immersiveness in the gameplay. While it is the most obvious choice, it's still a great one. Lorule Castle's epic background track is undeniably the best of all the final dungeons. While Triforce Heroes definitely isn't the most interesting Zelda game, its soundtrack is still incredible. Most of the background tracks that play during the levels could be valid picks for this game's best, some of my favorites being Woodlands, which was my previous pick, and Riverside. Though of the many choices in this very underrated soundtrack, my favorite is the most important track of them all, the main theme. Just like in the Fields from Spirit tracks, the Triforce Heroes main theme gives off a really fantasy-like adventurous vibe, which again is super fitting to the Zelda franchise. The accordion and violin going off each other in a duet-like composition sounds so cool. These instruments aren't super common in Zelda songs, especially the accordion, but when they're included, they go unbelievably hard. The sprinkle of the main Legend of Zelda theme throughout the song really ties this incredible track together. Easily one of the most underrated songs in the franchise, featured in an equally underrated soundtrack. Breath of the Wild is often criticized for having a lackluster OST, which has always been something I have completely disagreed with. Sure, the songs featured in this game are undeniably more atmospheric and ambient, but I feel like most people forget about 80% of the soundtrack. Every village or boss has a really great and classic theme song, but I think this game's character themes are even stronger. Some of the game's most important side characters are the 4 champions, each of them having some really great theme music. Obviously, my favorite song in Breath of the Wild will be one of said character themes, but which champion has the best theme? Mini ranking time. The worst is pretty easily Urbosa. Still a great theme, but just a bit less interesting than the others. 2 and 3 could really be switched depending on the mood, but for now I'll put Rivali's at 3, because of that fire accordion in the mix, which as I just mentioned is a sick instrument. My second favorite is Mipha's. This theme is absolutely gorgeous. It's such an emotion-provoking song, and very fitting to the character and her relationship with Link. But my favorite belongs to the goat of all the champions, Daruk. Daruk's theme is really epic, but at the same time beautiful. I know many of you may know this already, but Daruk's theme starting off all tough and mighty, but slowly transitioning into a beautiful piano theme is a great representation of his character. As Daruk may seem like a big tough Goron, which he is, but on the inside he's a sweetheart and a really caring person. This melody is extremely memorable and catchy, and when that piano gets going, oh man, outstanding work from Nintendo. A very fitting theme for my favorite of the 4 champions, though again, it really could have gone to any of their incredible themes. I also want to point out that my initial pick, Attack on Varuda, is still in my eyes the best theme in the game, but it's very different from Daruk's theme, and both tracks are special in their own ways. Believe it or not, but picking the best song in Tears of the Kingdom was actually really difficult. This game features undeniably the largest soundtrack out of any Zelda game, and being incapable of picking the best song is really more of a compliment than it is a diss. Colgera's theme was my original pick for the best in this game, which I still agree is the strongest in this OST. I don't love picking the main theme as most games best, as a lot of the time it's really boring and the obvious pick, but Tears of the Kingdom's main theme is easily one of the best we've ever heard. Starting off with those mysterious voices in the background background but slowly building up to a whole orchestra of instruments was done incredibly well. Like most main themes, this one starts off slower, but gradually builds up to the epic main melody. And when I say epic, I really mean it. The climax of this song hits like a freaking truck, the brass instruments being solely responsible for the main theme until the entire ensemble just explodes into the most beautiful and magnificent composition you've ever heard. I mean, the flute guy from the Game Awards orchestra pretty much sums up how awesome this theme is. Again, I don't love picking the main themes as the best, since it's the easy way out, but Tears of the Kingdom features arguably the best main theme in the entire franchise, making it a pretty safe choice for the best in this huge soundtrack. Echoes of Wisdom is the final and most recent game featured on this list. While I really liked the game, most of the soundtrack was really quite forgettable, kinda like the game itself. But there has always been one theme that I think is really great and easily my favorite from Echoes of Wisdom. Hyrule Field Theme 2 is a mashup of many iconic Zelda songs, and it works so well. My favorite part of this track is the build up to the main melody, which features Zelda's Lullaby. Adding one of my favorite Zelda songs ever as an intro to a field theme was just genius, and obviously is very fitting to the game. I'm also a really big fan of the Echoes of Wisdom main theme, which is the main melody featured in this song. The clarinet is quite relaxing and really makes me happy to listen to, which is kind of the vibe I get from this game in general. Despite Echoes of Wisdom's slightly underwhelming soundtrack, the second field theme is by far my favorite song in the latest Legend of Zelda game, in a great tribute to Princess Zelda herself. See? I told you guys I use this song in every video. Thank you all so much for watching, I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe for more Zelda content just like this. When you subscribe, be sure to turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload or stream. I hope you could agree with most of my picks. I'm sure we had a lot of different choices, so if we did, be sure to comment your favorite Legend of Zelda songs below. Again, I apologize if my musical terminology was a bit off, since I'm not really a music connoisseur. So to you music aficionados out there, I'm really sorry if I let you down or made you cringe. Thank you all so much for the continued support on the channel. It means a lot to see you all loving the content. Thanks again for your time, you guys are the best. I'll see you guys in the next one. This part right here, this is my favorite part of the song. Get ready.